This
Nail this
conference
in.
will now be recorded.
So skipping ahead to item number 3, I'll entertain a motion.
Do that.
Let's go. Wrong one.
The agenda?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll move that it be adopted as presented.
I have a motion by Commissioner Calls to approve the agenda as presented and a second by Commissioner McDonald. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a voice vote. All those in favor of the agenda as presented signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, passes 4-0. Next up is item number 4. Entertain a motion on the minutes. Did we? We had something they got fixed, didn't we?
Yeah, just the wording on that vote.
Okay, all right. But it is fixed.
It is fixed in there, yes.
Okay, good deal. I'm glad somebody reads.
Motion approved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Espiritu
I'll second.
and a second by Commissioner Call to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion or debate? Hearing none, I'll ask for a voice vote. A yes or aye approves the minutes as presented. No or nay rejects them. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. It's kind of weird as I have to remember to vote in here.
You get a vote.
Here I get to vote. Over at the other place, I don't. Not that anybody cares. Especially not.
Wine.
Can I have a charcuterie board with that?
Motion to give the mayor some cheese.
I have a motion by,
One in box.
all right. But are we trying to scare Paul into not coming back?
Yeah. I
Um,
don't think that's.
now, Item number 5, we don't have Mr. Stark here, so we're going to have Mr. Christopher for Mr. Stark. Okay.
Okay, so November flow fees will increase. Essentially what's happening with the numbers is planes are going out, so they're filling the planes to leave. The landing fees dropped, actually because they're going out, they're not coming in. So parking fees were, like I said, we're lower, but our plane count, like I said, is at 361. So we're still ahead of last year's revenue generation. So is there any questions on that?
No, the 361 is actually, isn't it up from last month?
It's down by 8 planes.
Yeah,
8? Okay, I thought it was.
Do you know why the airplanes are leaving?
I do. If I can answer?
Yeah.
Hangars.
Low fuel, parking fees. Okay.
So
Can we get those emailed, these for every church out to the county commissioners? Go
I
ahead.
have a question. So what do you budget for a normal year for landing parking fees? What's in your budget for
I'll be
that?
honest with you, I don't know.
How do you?
I'm an operations
A
guy.
good number, a not good number, a great number?
I don't know. I'm an operations guy. I'm not doing the finances yet.
Well, you're reporting, so I thought maybe you would know.
I mean, that's still a COVID number, right? I mean, that's still a,
Yeah, but still, what I'm getting at is what is normal for us when we get, hopefully with that is at some point.
Yeah, okay, well, here's an argument I would say is probably we need to go back and look at 19.
yeah.
And these are calendar years or fiscal years? And these,
I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I don't.
These are calendar years.
okay, that's what it's, so we should, could we bring up calendar year 19? Because that would probably give us an idea, but in answer to your specific question, I'll turn to the Director of Administrative Services. Do we know what, or we're going to start building the budget in what, February?
We'll start the process in February, and the numbers, departments start submitting their numbers around March, in the March. But again, without looking, having that information, the budget book, one of us, I couldn't tell you what 19, 18 priors have been, the regular trends before COVID. Yeah, definitely we can provide that information to you.
But on that point, what I think you've raised an interesting issue is the COVID numbers are not going to stay forever. And what do we budget
Right.
for 23, FY 23? And how do you got to base it upon experience, I would assume. I mean, what are you thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my whole point is how do we know where we should be? Or are we seeing minus COVID, are we seeing an uptick? Are we even? Are we going down? I mean, just kind of where we're heading in the future past COVID,
Mhm.
and we can base that obviously on 19 or
18, you'd have to go back maybe a little further than that, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to get an average, maybe 15 to 19 and average that number.
But now part of the problem too is the fees have changed.
Mhm.
Our parking fees, new numbers went into effect in January of this year.
That's correct.
So that's part of the increase there.
There's a lot, okay, so now that we're on the subject of it, there's a lot of variables too, is like what's the crunch rate? Because once they get crunched, that comes off, the conversion rate. And then I think where we'd have to get Mead and Hunt involved is I think a reason a lot of the airplanes are sitting here now is because American is still trying to figure out what they're going to put back into service or not. So for us to come out with a number here, I think it's going to be based on the industry of what they're going to put back into service or not, if they're going to retire more, when the international flights are going to go back to normal. So, I mean, as far as coming up with a number, I don't think we can go to 19 and say that, because one of the things that we are seeing is that the aviation is they're bringing back old planes now. I mean, there's planes coming in now that are 20 years old. So, why are they putting those back into service when we got newer ones here? So I think they're doing a dynamic thing too. So and that was where I think it would be Mead and Hunt would tell us what the industry's looking at, and then we can base it off what we should expect.
And one of them is actually the health of the center in this regard. I mean, what is this information telling us for the future? I mean, that's what I'm getting at is what does the future look like based upon the past experience? We see, because these are revenues, right? So are we growing? We shrinking? I mean, where are we?
And I think, well,
Is anybody talking to the operators themselves, like asking American which fleets you're going to park, which ones you're going to reactivate? What are your plans for the MD-80s? Talking to United?
The air center's not. I mean, that's what our consultant should be doing it.
or our MROs. I mean, what are you guys hearing from?
I mean, there's a lot of action going on right now with United. American, not quite that much. It looks like maybe 30 of the planes going back into service next year is what it looks like, a little over 30, 737.
Okay.
30 from here, or just
Or
mean
just
30?
fleet.
They have 108 aircraft on site right now, American does. So if they're looking at some 30 or whatever leaving out, it's around 70 or so that'll stay here. I think the A330s are probably, the 200 series they still have lease time on them. I think they're going to go back. The 300 series, they'll be gear cans, I'm sure. They've already sold one A330. We're actually starting to hear on it today.
Yeah, that was a lease return. That the leasing company started, yeah.
That belongs to Carlisle. Anyway, United, there's about 70 airplanes left there for United. By the end of January, probably 50. And some of the airplanes, because the maintenance program keeps ticking, they did go to heavy maintenance facilities or hangar facilities for heavy maintenance, but there's so many facilities out there that are backlogged that they can't get the aircraft in. That may slow up some of the returns to service or airplanes leave. It might, but we'll see as the year goes on, but it'll be a drastic change by summer of next year.
I think we're going to see a lot of bigger airplanes here as the international flying is going to not pick up as fast.
777s, 777s, big old A330, 300s. I'm not sure they'll go.
Yeah, they're going to be around longer, I think.
But the smaller guys
In answer to your question, Mike, I'm not sure I don't know if we can tell what tomorrow will bring.
I mean, I have a good idea, at least because I have to do amend our forecast, that kind of thing. Good idea what we're going to have as the months go by. If it continues, if there's something that slows up the volume even worse. I mean, Alliance, for example, has the E190s out there. They were going to COPA and, for their heavy checks. America, and COPA is building a new hangar. They ran out of ramp space. Which slowed up Alliance leaving. So plan for Alliance actually getting E190s out here starting in January. It might be pushed to the 1st February, I don't know. But as capacity picks up out there with hangar space, then you'll see airplanes.
Move out. Unless we have hangar space.
Okay, so my question was leading actually to, they've done a really good job of trying to build the center and staffing and all these things. And I know the budget will be affected by these numbers. And as they continue to try to improve the center, there's a direct correlation with the dollars. And it's just purely a programming perspective. And I'm not really sure what I was asking for, except I think it's something that needs to be looked at. I'm sure it is to some degree, but the planning for the future, not really knowing, because you never know, right? But you try to get somewhere, especially because your budget is actually your guide, because you're trying to program dollars to talk for operations and all these things. And where do we need to be in operations compared to with all the expense piece? This is all income, this is all revenue. So where's the balance out to we stay in the black versus dipping in the red?
Well, my perspective on this is that we're running above what our historical numbers have been revenue wise. And my inclination is to allocate those additional revenues into capital. Maybe we could build, what's it called?
A hangar?
Oh, that's it. But, all kidding aside, that's what I'm thinking we want to do is I don't think this will stay forever, obviously. Eventually planes either get crunched or they go back. They don't just sit there forever and pay for a piece of dirt. So how do we take advantage of this? And that becomes part of the discussion I think we have to look at is which pieces of infrastructure now? The obvious point about the hangar, but we've got, in all seriousness, a hangar project in works, and we should be able to do an additional one. But anyway, we kind of beat this horse to death, unless you guys want something else to say.
Does that have real estate fees? Is that?
No, that's not counting our
Okay.
lease fees.
So we have more unseen revenue up there than what we're looking at.
That's correct.
So there could be more, but we don't know now.
Well, when we have PFC, we have leases on the buildings, and is that basically it?
Yeah, that'd be the leases. Yeah, the PSCs.
Okay.
I mean, there may be, I got to see what we're doing with DOT and stuff. So that would probably come under land leases as well.
Okay. All right.
So for my report, we're working on the RFP for security services. That'll be presented to legal today. What that essentially do is help with our terminal if there's construction projects. And we're also wording the RFP to be able to, for other departments to utilize if they need security services. That'll streamline the process for other departments as well. But we have to have this for the terminal. Is there any questions on that?
So what do we have to have for security guards? I mean, TSA has standards or FAA?
It's TSA standards. We have to have a level 3 armed guard at the TSA point when it's open. Then they have to be able to detain until RPD can get there.
Okay, so we're going out with the RFP. What's the turnaround on this one?
if it goes through legal, it gets approved to legal, it'll go to the council, the RPAB process. We're looking at execution if everything goes to plan is April 1st.
Okay. And in the interim, it's RPD that's doing the security.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. The baggage scanner, we just, they installed it today. They're doing the certifications on it, or they installed it yesterday. They're doing certifications today. That's going to expedite the baggage processing. So essentially now, when this is up and running, no more individual baggage checks. They'll just be running through a scanner.
Cool.
So a lot of people didn't realize that we didn't have that. So, but yeah.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So, so the commission members, if they would like to get a look-see at this new, just come down and touch base with you guys.
Sure.
Reach out and email them or text them. I got a little bit of a tour the other day when I was down there while they were still building it. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's actually amazing that we're in this 21st century after 21 years.
Yeah. The rub hanger, the first truck gets here Monday. We've been clearing the yard out. We're going to store it in the yard until we get the actual building location. And I'll go into that later.
That's what they were
We're
doing.
looking at, but it's going to be about 8 to 10 truckloads. So we're storing it there in the yard. Building repairs, we're finally getting to the point now to where we're repairing some of the damage. We got Building 92 FAA building, and then Sidney Gutierrez. The Sidney Gutierrez, we had to repair the roof and the boiler system. We're still working on the boiler system, and we had to process that through council because it's going to be more than 60,000. And then Larry was here, but that's the reason we haven't started on the tanks is we've had to use that contractor to get this other stuff done so we can expedite the repairs. Because if not, it's going to cost more damage. We're also going to be going through 58 and 66. Now that we have a lease signed, we're going to see what repairs we need to be done on that so that we can stop the long-term damage. If we can fix it now, it's cheaper than waiting until stuff happens. So, any questions on that? Okay. So one of the things I threw in is with our goal for 2022 is one of the things the staff's going to start focusing more on is operational excellence, which means we're raising the rates on the leases. We're coming up to fair market value. With that, we also have to start coming up with our customer service or our value add. And that's one of the things that we're going to be working on. We got to get the grounds back in shape. We're getting equipment. We're going to find a way to borrow equipment if we can't, because we're still on delay on getting our mowers in. So we're going to start borrowing mowers as we can. But anyway, one of the things is that if in the ideal world is when you're getting value add to your service, you don't mind paying the extra rent. So we're trying to give that value add to equalize it.
Did you not contract out the mowing to somebody?
Well, the problem with that is we have the air center, the terminal's contracted out and that's maintained, but we can't afford to contract the whole thing. We did it as we could, but the problem now is finding contractors because we had 2 different contractors on the Aspen that was supposed to fix them and they never showed up. So
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
So we're gonna find a way around it. We're also bringing our staff levels up. We're hiring. So if the last 2 people accept, that'll put us fully staffed for the vacant positions. So and that's what we're hoping for by January is that we're fully staffed.
Mowing's a huge project out there. I mean, that's nonstop. I mean,
And
Especially when it rains.
yeah.
yeah, and that was the thing too, is that we just had the series of catastrophic events this year. You know, our mower went down. It was a 10-year mower. We got 20 years out of it. And then we're waiting on the new, but because of COVID, everything's, 12 to 18 months behind. So, and now we just got delayed on our mower. We're being told it's going to be another 6 months. So we're probably going to start mowing season having to borrow. So, and then our Kubotas are run down. We're going to have to buy new decks for those. So we'll make it work. So, but that's, again, it's not focused on the problems and what we can't do is we're going to be more focusing on what we got to do to make it happen. So that'll be the value add. So
Before we go too into that, I'm going to talk about the food at the terminal.
sure. I left that out. Yeah, Summit opened. They did actually, they were going to do a soft open Wednesday, but then when they had an open and running their grill, there's people coming in from the Air Center eating there now. So it's working out pretty good. I mean, they're not to the numbers they want to be, but they're opening up while the flights are coming in, and it's fair. I mean, I talked to her today. So, and then they're going to be taking over the concessions as well. And then after they get the concessions established, then they're going to start the bar. So we're figuring the bar probably around March. So it'll be full operational by March.
So when you say concessions, you mean?
The vending machines, what they're doing is they're going to put a micro market in the secured area. So even when a person comes in, there'll be a sandwich machine or whatever, and then they'll have the vending machines. So you'll be able to eat once you get into the secured area. So, and then they're going to, right now, like I said, there's every vending machine in the terminal will be run by Summit. We're getting rid of, well, we had like 3 vendors in there, and then one of the vendors we found out wasn't paying anything for the lease thing. So we're just going to turn it over to Summit, and that way it's one source and we don't have to worry about it. It'll streamline our processes as well.
Maybe they'll work.
Oh, no, yeah, they do a good job. I mean, they do.
Well, I mean, now that maybe the machines will actually work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did bring in a new micro, like all the machines for the micro market are new that's going in the secured area.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Because I'd gotten a text message from someone who's had a relative going through and there was no, I guess, no waters inside the secure area. And so I texted Steve and Scott and, but these current ones are through the end of the year. So we got another 2 weeks with them, right? Or is it?
Well, one's pulling out Monday.
Okay.
We're trying to expedite it. I didn't give an option to the first of the year. I just said we need their machines out as soon as possible. Because Summit has machines ready to go in, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had this problem in the summer when the same thing with the water, and that's the reason, one of the reasons we went to Summit is they could do it all. So we want a one-stop shop.
That's good. That's good.
So Summit will be covering, rearranging the grill, the vending machines and the bar when it's all up and running.
Yes.
And what time will they open? Are they like those early morning flights? Are they there?
Yes, they're like right now they're at 5 a.m. and then they stay till about an hour after the flight, because what they're finding is there's people coming in on their way to like Aircel or whatever. They're stopping and getting coffee and a burrito. So,
Good.
And it stops them from having to go to the university. So
There's going to be bar service in the secure area.
no, yeah, we had to build onto that. But that is the plan. When we do the build out, there'll be the same thing on the end. But that's years down the road.
So the idea is that they'll bring staff over from the college
Right.
if they need it. And see, that to me makes so much sense. That's because
It's not the same one that does the college?
Yes.
That does the cafeteria?
They do the college, they do the Aliyah when Aliyah's running, and then they also do Youth Challenge. And they do the jail, the county jail.
They do the jail.
Yeah. So it's kind of a win-win. It's going to be easier for them to manage and they can rotate staff.
Yeah.
They did hire a grill cook, but when he's not at the Air Center, he'll be doing either at the college or their catering. So they do catering as well. So
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
It does.
It really does. I mean, that was I wish Dr. Powell was here because he was big help when I wanted to see him when we were trying to figure out what we were going to do and talk to him about that vendor there. And he took me over and introduced me to the local person. And it was a new company from when we first were looking at it, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And so Summit wasn't the vendor back then. And like I said, I wish Powell was here because I would like to say a big thank you to him for helping to make that happen.
sure.
Before you continue, on the rub hanger, last meeting we had, we mentioned that we voted to recommend the city council about the 1 million to the city manager for that facility. I don't recall that. Did that happen?
No, because the city manager is a little bit uncomfortable with that in his discussions with me. He would like to have a firm number. So Joe would like to be able to say it's 870,000 or whatever, 1.1 million. And I said, okay. And
Okay. Thank you.
he listens to me kind of like you listen to me.
That well.
That well.
And will that come back through this commission?
Yes. I want us to talk about that extensively because we're actually getting close. We're actually going to be talking a little bit about that.
Have we got a leaser, leasee, I mean?
So we don't even know if it'll be used for the drones or what yet.
No.
You're still working through that. I get it. Thank you.
We're still, shall we say, in negotiation with potential tenants.
Yes.
That's a good way to put it.
How wide is that building?
Let's see, is it 120 by 84?
That was 180. Wasn't it 120 by 180?
Yeah, it's 120 by 180 by
120 wide or 180 wide?
26 high.
The 26 is the door or the interior? I think it's the
Yeah.
door.
The height of it is, I want to say 32 or 38, something like that.
Yeah, but the door's only 26. So
Yeah.
I don't remember. I'm torn. I think there's a typo then on the drawing. Okay.
I was just curious if we put it up on a stem wall, raise it up 10, 15 feet.
Then you still have to deal with the door. Door's got to be made. Okay, just saying.
No door hanger is better than nothing. Or half a hanger door.
Do they count if it doesn't have a door on it? It's not a hanger anymore, is it?
It's carport.
So we're ready to move?
Yeah.
All right. So on the Ascent hangar project, I don't have any slides on this. Hey, Mike, are you there?
Yes, sir, we're here.
Okay, Mike, can you give them the update on where we're at on the hangar project?
Yes, sir. On the engineering side, actually, we had a good meeting with Ruben and everybody, the architect, last week. And we are continuing on the grading of the parking lot and sizing of the detention pond. And moving ahead, working, Dennis was able to get some work orders in for Excel, and checked on those. And let's see, Tim, what else did you get?
We also got this, some information back from City Public Works on where they would like the water lines relocated. So we just got those yesterday. We're incorporating them into our drawings and seeing if they work for us. And so we're going through the utilities and that's about it, I think. We're just trying to reroute the utilities. Excel was out there on Monday, the 13th. So we'll be expecting where they want to run their electric lines through. They'll be doing the design on their own lines and letting us know where those are going to be. So it's just all in the process still.
Are they going to put their lines underground or are they going to leave them on poles?
That was one of the questions that it's still up in the air. They I think asked that, and we're still working that out with them.
And the detention pond is, you're sizing that right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We have, and what we're doing is, and in rudimentary terms, you get the impervious surface and you figure out the acreage of it. And also what we're looking at are the roof drains, and which way those are going, and working with Ruben and his group on getting those. Those all go to the detention pond, so to get treated. So it sounds like it's really easy, but there's some things we got to take into consideration that we're working on.
And if I remember right, there are some storm drains lines along Earl Cummings, but I don't think they get all the way over to that side of the air center. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor. Yeah. We don't have any. There are some storm drain lines south of the building site, pretty much on the apron, that we're going to try and use to drain the apron portion. we really don't know a lot about those. We're trying to decipher some more information on that, but we're trying to drain the apron side into those existing storm drains, and everything else, the building and the parking lot and such, we're trying to get into the detention pond.
Okay. And a $64,000 question. When do you think actual dirt will be being moved?
We really don't have a good idea on that
We've
right
always
now.
said April.
I think we're shooting for mid-spring.
Okay. So we got to go, first we have to finish the designs, then go out for an ITB, then select a contractor, and then
Correct.
go forward. Is that, do I have that timeline right?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know they're building a hangar?
I haven't seen one built yet.
Slow process.
So does anybody else got questions? All right. Thanks, Mike. Tim.
Sir, good to see everyone. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right.
So the next item is MRO of Americas. It's going to be April 26th to the 28th, and it's in Dallas. We talked about it a little bit last month. One of the recommendations we have is we have a subcommittee meeting to determine the best value add option for the city for this. So do we do the 20 by 20 booth? Do we do the 10 by 10? Or do we just go as exhibitors and walk around, or not exhibitors, but as just attendees and walk around? And one of the things we'd like to do is just meet on that, look at the costs and everything, and then come back and report in January next month.
Concur, and I'll be happy to be part of that committee.
Okay. I'm a fan for the 20 by 20, just so you know. I don't know if anybody cares, probably not, but
Well, I think we need to look at cost benefit, and I think we need to look at pricing, and because it's going to require personnel for both that size. I think the committee might be able to come up with some recommendations for you to consider.
we could find the personnel to do it. I'm sure.
And of course, okay, why don't the committee provide some recommendations based upon some
Okay.
facts? You know, what's going to cost? I think cost is going to be pretty significant. What did it cost last year or last time?
If I'm not mistaken, after all of our expenses, it was like 12 grand.
Do we have a budget? Do we have a budget for that for the air center?
Well, it may have been more. I don't, like I said, I don't, what I was told was 12. I think that was just for the booth.
That's just for the booth?
Check, double check on that.
Okay. Yeah.
Inflatables, that's what.
Yeah, get a big balloon that floats to the top so people can find your booth from way far away in the show.
Alien.
An alien head.
Big aliens filled with
I'm serious.
floating around.
Big booth, you have to have the right signage, if you will.
Big, yeah.
You have to have the right stuff or it's going to look pretty
Filled with
sad.
couches.
Yeah, which will be, well, of course, that's going to be a cost associated with that
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So
So why don't you two talk with, because you both are the most familiar with the MROs, if you don't mind.
that's fine.
So why don't you grab these two guys, since they've been to more MROs than anybody else,
Okay.
and try to help nail down what the heck's going on.
I'll just reach out next week. We'll schedule something.
Yeah, and I think part of the issue too is location, what's available still. And what, do you remember what we have to put down to reserve the spot, or what the timing is on?
I was trying to look at it yesterday and it kind of locked it down to where I've got a call. So I tried calling this morning and I didn't get a call back. So essentially we got to call their sales rep and figure all that out.
Air sale gonna be there? You guys got a
They
booth?
will, but I don't think we'll be there.
Okay.
My corporate side, I'm sure.
What about Jet Trend? You guys gonna do a booth?
One of our sister companies, National Aero Stands, always has a booth there.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. Any more questions on that? Okay. Key hangers, I know there was some discussion with that. Scott and I had talked and we reached back out to our alliance people. But, essentially what we need is taxiways and access roads before we start worrying about the hangars. I know that there's people who want to build the hangars, but they don't express any interest in the taxiways or the access roads we got. So we need to look at revenue sources for that. And one of the things that we're recommending is that we need to focus on our business and air operations before we do GAO. Because if we build up the GAO, we're ignoring something that we've got now. So we need to fix and get under control what we have then, and then spend the monies on new operations.
Have you identified an area for those T hangars?
We have, and I'll show one of the ideas later, but the main area that we're looking at now would be over by Sky, because we've already got some taxiway. We would just have to, repair it. But that would be the key area, and then we can access from gate 31. And that would probably be the least expensive for creating the access road and the taxiway to 17.
Yeah, that's a good area.
Yeah.
And 31 is the one by the,
It's by the Sky hangar, by the water.
oh, Central.
Right.
Okay. I was thinking that was the case. All right.
That's going to be the best option, the least expensive. So.
And gets the T hangers away from the MRO area.
Right. So hangar sites, this is where we were looking at. What we're looking at is trying to identify areas to where we can go ahead and do the geotech. So we've got the rub hangar coming. We're looking at areas where we can put that hangar now. But the other thing is that as we start this growth, we want to identify all the slots. And what we're looking at doing is doing the geotech, going ahead and doing the geotech for those. So I've talked to Armstrong. This is a rough estimate, but each area is 20 to 25,000 for the geotech, depending on the boring required and the time it takes. So we're roughly looking at 20 to 25,000 per site. But if we can go ahead and identify that and get the areas, then we can go ahead and do the geotech. So wherever we wind up putting the hangar, we'll have 3 other spots. But where we could put additional hangars as they come available. So one I'm looking at is by hangar 91. We've looked at putting 2 hangars there. And what that would do is we don't know on the placement yet if we would do it to where it would come to a ramp and then it would come to the access, or do we move it down, move the other hangar down to where one hangar comes out and swings in, and then the other hangar would come dead into the ramp area. So, but that's the good prime spots for the size hangar that we're getting from Rub.
How much weight will that ramp and taxiway handle?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it handles the small aircraft.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
No, we're not going to be putting big aircraft there. It just, those hangars, the Rub hangar, the size of aircraft that the Rub hangar would hold would suffice on that ramp. I mean, I don't have the weights, but.
Like regional jets.
Yes.
Okay.
The other spot we're looking at is the corner there on the ramp. That was already geotech. So after I was drawing it out and I was talking, we found out that that's already been geotech, so we don't have to include that one. The other spot would be is if we're not going to go with a hangar, we're going to go with a building. It would be that lot across from building 112, and that would be the warehouse. And then the other hangar spot would be in between, it's by the SRE and the 1532, one of the aft flight hangars. Measurements that'll fit in there. So that's an option. So essentially what we'd be looking at is doing the geotech for four spots. Because eventually something's going to be built on those 4 areas. So if we went ahead and did the geotech now, then when we're ready, we already have the spots that we would bypass a lot of the weight.
Steven, this is Mike Garcia. Just so you guys, you're aware, when you guys nail down these sites, we have to do a 7460 to airspace them, just to make sure we have to submit that to the FAA.
Hang on. You let him, Mike, we're getting feedback.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. There you go. My user error.
Okay,
Just to let everybody know on those sites, Stephen will work with you guys on the 7460s to get those airspaced. And the environmental, we can definitely guide you guys down the right path with the FAA on those too. Because those will take a specific way to get those processed through the FAA, just so you guys know.
Sure, that's what we were counting on.
Yes, sir.
on a side note, is the FAA working out of the office yet, or is Fort Worth still at home?
They're all at home still.
Shit.
They haven't opened up the offices yet.
All right,
Sir.
lazy bunch of,
So is there any questions on?
FBI we were talking about?
no, we're talking about FAA. So by January, we're gonna have an idea better on the use of this, because we're getting, the starts to come in Monday, so we're gonna need to wanna nail this down soonly.
Yeah, we're working. We've got two parties that we're engaged in. It's just whoever comes first. And if not, then we're gonna have to make the decision on where to go.
That would be a good GA hangar.
Yeah, but the question is, what do we really need? And I think that's part of the issue is, do we need a GA hangar? Do we need a warehouse? To me, that's the kind of fundamental decision we need to have a serious discussion about. This is not a airliner type hangar. And so, we keep calling it a hangar. I think the better term is just a structure. And the question is, are we going to utilize it for, and I still don't know if we could use a regional jet in there or not. I mean, Andy, what's the tail on those regional?
25 to 30 feet.
So we're marginal.
You're right on 737, something like that, for 40 feet, 45 feet.
Yeah, so it's an RJ at best is what we got. And so do we really need more of the RJ hangar? Because I have a vote in this situation as opposed to the other, but I'm inclined to look at us replacing the hangars, the warehouse space we're losing, demos we're doing. And I think that's a more critical approach, but that's just me. And I think I would argue that needs to be the discussion we have in January is, what is this group going to recommend as far as what to utilize this thing for? And, this is where we have a real serious discussion. If we don't have somebody stepping up for this and to use it as a hangar, do we just build another small hangar, or do we build a warehouse? You want to jump in on this?
Yes, we do both.
Okay, but we can't split the building in two.
Exactly. But we need both. We need both warehouse and we need hangar.
I agree.
But
this one we have right now in our hand.
Well, it can be used for both, but it'll be used for small aircraft, right?
Yeah, but do we need that?
Tower warehouse.
Or do we need the warehouse more? See, that's my problem. So we really need to worry about small aircraft. We got some hangars out here like 1536 and 1532. They're not full all the time. It's Flight runs them, but do we need? To me, that's the question. I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm saying my inclination is that we go with the warehouse, but right?
And my inclination, we go with the hangar. You remember what they said to MRO last year?
Remember that we have put in that hangar.
We should get the dimensions, so we should fully understand what it is dimension wise, because there's a lot of question
of this RUB system that city purchased.
Yeah, because
I thought I had it with me, but I don't have it with me.
So let's say it's got a 28-foot clearance, and the RJ is like Randy has in his hangar, for example. They need 4 more feet. Well, we just have engineers demo up and we put that hangar up 3 or 4 more feet.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that.
We could raise the height of that building.
Yeah, we do.
We just can't change the width without a different building.
We can't width or length.
You might be able to change the length by adding More beans.
You can add to it. They're expandable.
Okay,
I mean,
Yeah.
if I could just throw something in there, I mean,
yeah,
so having the hangar for aircraft's one thing, but one of the things we're up against constantly is support shops, fabric.
Yeah.
Upholstery, machine shop, those kind of things that we have to send, there's no place in Rossville to have this work done, so we ship it out, which adds time and cost for what we're doing, so.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, there's other things there that is still an MRO use, but it's not necessarily to house aircraft. I'm using a third of the hangar right now around my shipping area to put aircraft tires. There's no other place to put them. These are aircraft tires that are going on these storage aircraft because some, like United, they change out the tires before the airplanes return to service, all of them.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's different things that could be kind of brainstormed into what that.
So warehouse space it could be used for, yeah.
well, when I say warehouse, I think of it, I don't mean to just mean storage, I mean, where you could do these operations as well.
They do landing gear repair and there's all kinds of things.
Well, it's really component repair, right? Because not only is it going to help you, it'll help you guys, it'll help everybody.
The flight control shop.
You know, flight controls,
There's a lot.
composite repair, hydraulics,
So,
electronics.
but this gets
We have
down to the fundamental question, do we put it on the ramp where it's a hangar? Where it should only thing that should be on a ramp is a hangar. This is my opinion and whatever. But if we could do this over there in that lot where 112 is, or south of 112, you take off, you put crowding the ramp and you make it available for these.
For an MRO, if you're more self-sufficient on what you can do,
right.
or you don't have to ship things out
That's
for
right.
repairs, whatever, you can do a lot of turn. You can put a paint facility here. I mean.
Yeah, shop space.
Yeah,
I mean,
great selling point.
ADS, they're looking for a place to do their composite stuff.
Well, remember the discussion we had on the engine repair, right? Test cells. I mean, so absolutely, you know, and it doesn't, you're right. My experience is it doesn't have to be on the flight line. It could be.
No.
Yeah, but then it's not a hangar. If it's not on the ramp, it's not a hangar.
It doesn't need to be on the ramp, but it doesn't need to be on the ramp.
Not to support aircraft, no.
No, I agree. I'm just saying. Well, this is, okay, so let's plan on this in January. Let's have a detailed dimensions of this thing. Maybe we even have rub available or not. I don't know if we have them on the phone, but definitely Armstrong so that we can, if we were to go with these different options, what are we really looking at cost-wise?
But if you go off in the dirt, you obviously have the cost of a pad.
Yep.
If you go on there, depending on what that concrete looks like, you either have to remove the concrete and re-pour it. You're still gonna have to put a footing around it to anchor that deal.
Yep.
So-
Mr. Chair and members, and I think, you know, those are some of the other details that are unknown at this time, just because we don't have an exact site plan. I mean, as Mike reported, for the Ascent project, they're doing the foundation plans and all of that. This is a similar structure that will require engineering to make sure that we do the right footings, the pillars. And the other thing to note is that if this hangar or this structure is placed outside, and right now, I believe, Steve, the material that's being delivered includes a door hanger. So it's not, so again, even the door will have to be altered if we decide to move it out. So that's an additional cost. So that's why we want to start with the soil, at least with that sort of testing, and then proceed forward as we know more on the select one or two sites, do a little bit more testing, and then get more firmer costs on the engineering for those sites.
Well, I would like to see the geotech work done at site south of 112. But we don't have that as an action item, so we can't vote on it, but that's my 2 cents worth.
Hey, Steve, where your bottom picture there, your site where you have it there.
Right.
What's next to it before you get to the other building?
In between is that's the storage yard for Ascent right now. That's where they're.
To the right?
Yeah, to your right, it's the Ascent that's where Ascent's storing their equipment. And then the white roof, that's the SRE. And then the blue roof is the Aflac.
So that could even be a site for a bigger hangar if Ascent stuff gets out of there, right?
It could be, but one, we gotta keep them there until the hangars are built. And then two is we may maintain that because it's already got the fencing and stuff in it. So that's a place for us to secure equipment. But we could take it apart if we needed to.
Right.
But there's other spots we can put a hangar.
Yeah, I'm just saying that you make that a little bit bigger, you might, I don't know what the dimensions, 120, might get 240 feet there.
Our issue with that is what we wouldn't want to do is put an MRO or anything there because remember Boeing comes in and uses 1,000, so they use that. We still have to have that ramp space for the military. So we can't put nothing too big in there for a major operation. That was why we were, is if we had like a little
But
regional.
it could be a transit hangar for Boeing.
They're going to need a 777 hangar.
You don't think it can fit in there? 128 and
It'd be tight.
should have put that darn little building over there.
Mike, you were thinking of something.
But, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, I get confused what to call you sometimes.
Schmuck.
I think we need to get our information together and then make a decision on what we really want to use that facility for.
I agree.
And that'll probably predicate where we want to locate it.
Okay.
And then that will predicate the geotech and environmental and all that kind of stuff. I think we need to figure what we got based upon recommendations from our partners, what it could be best used for, and then plan accordingly.
All right, let's plan on this. Let's make this the primary focus for the January meeting. And let's see if we can get our other major tenants to come here and chime in on it. I'm thinking Jen Air and Cavu as well as AirSail. By the way, I appreciate you showing up and sharing with us because what we really want to do, or at least I think let me rephrase it. What I really want to see is that we make sure we have what you guys need because it doesn't do anybody any good for us to build something that you have no use for. And so we need to hear from you guys. And I'd like to hear from the other as well. So that's.
Well, and I see this as directly connected to our strategic planning. Again, I feel like we're being a little reactive rather than proactive.
We are, but unfortunately, things are moving quickly. This is a dynamic thing and we're stuck having to address these issues right now. I mean, like 112 being closed was not something we anticipated and that's had an adverse effect. And then we ended up voting to demo 4 buildings last time?
Yes. But that's not reactive. That's being proactive. We've got to start clearing out some of these issues or they're going to increase our liabilities and our risk management. So.
But talking about the priorities in terms of what we need to add,
Sure.
What do we need most?
So that's what we'll discuss this next month. The primary focus will be this placement of this rub structure.
One of the recommendations I have then is this needs to be a holistic approach. We can't just focus on the sites for the hangar. We got to look at, like Amy was saying, is that we're going to incorporate everything, the tenants, the clients, the operations, the city and everything else. So it's probably going to be a lot of planning in the next month, but if we just focus on where the site is and what we need, then we're probably going to be stagnant for a while. So if we take a holistic approach and look at everything and get more people's looks into it, and then also, we have to look at the money. I mean, how much is it going to cost to change the door and everything? So
do we have to change the door if we make it into a non-hangar? We could leave the hangar door on, right?
Yep.
Well, that's one thing I asked.
If you'd want to.
You'd want to.
Oversight, depending on what you want to do in there.
Yeah, but I'd also, find out who wants the building. if Aircell's interested in it, then there's a customer, then, or if some other caboose, whoever wants to use that building.
Hey, folks, this is Dennis. This is Dennis from Armstrong.
Other places, but we're limited on what those capabilities are as far as upholstery, something like that. We have our own flight control, landing gear, hydraulic component shops.
So you wouldn't need a component shop then.
Not necessarily.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure if you can hear me. This is Dennis from Armstrong. Can you all hear
Yes,
me?
sir, go ahead.
I was just going to inquire, have you all considered putting out an RFI, a request for interest in this structure? Blasting it out community-wide and even regionally wide, letting people know that this building is coming and see who has an interest in what type of use they would like or have a need to use it for.
That's an interesting question. I'm kind of does anyone not know that we got it? That would be, anybody on the Air Center right now not know that we have it?
No, everybody knows we're getting it. Because, like I said, we had one that we're engaged with now, but I think what Dennis is alluding to is putting it out there to where it's like to there's aircraft or there's MRO sites, we put it on there as available. There's a build a suit and, component shop or whatever, but.
Beyond the borders of the Air Center.
Huh?
Beyond the borders of the customers that are already at the Air Center.
Exactly.
Okay.
My thought is just to saturate the advisement that this facility is available for potential use for potential tenants.
What's that do to us timing wise? What's that add to
Yeah,
it?
that's the only thing.
What would have to be, it would have to be prepared. It'd probably have to go through the same procurement process where it had to go through legal, then council, and then.
Do we have to go to council for RFIs?
If it's just for
I don't think
information,
so.
no.
The Air Center's done it before without going to council.
That's what I'm thinking. A request for information or interest is just,
Yeah. It's nothing binding,
Right.
asking for any binding
yeah.
situation.
So I think you can do an RFI without going outside of this.
So we can do an RFI without going through procurement.
I think so.
Well, we're not procuring anything. We're just collecting, it's just
Okay.
for information.
Okay.
Now, if, and of course,
You're fishing.
If that leads into more of a formal, then we will go through. That would be that's all it is.
Why don't you talk it over with the city manager, see what he thinks and see if the timing will work. Okay.
Okay, so that all we got on that?
Yeah, now January, we're supposed to have an update on the water line project. Isn't that what we had scheduled? Is Armstrong still
Or
there?
was that February?
That's why I was trying.
I thought it was February, Mayor.
It's February.
Okay, February, okay, fair enough,
Sir.
fair enough. But we're gonna have the Ascent hangar project and ongoing update on that. I'd like to keep that as a monthly, since that's the biggest dog in the kennel right now. And the location of this rub structure and the MRO of the Americas will be discussed again, right? Anything else?
Strategic plan, we were supposed to talk about it today, but
Yes.
I missed it on the agenda, didn't say anything. Well, missed it. It's supposed to be on today's agenda as well.
Okay. Ascent, America, rub structure. Anything else? We're going to talk about hangars, so we'll be talking about
We
it.
talked a lot about hangars and that's good.
I'll just go ahead and mention one other thing. I missed the first 10 minutes of the meeting. I don't know if it was discussed, but you're all probably aware recently the bipartisan infrastructure bill was passed and signed by the president. That included $25 billion for airports over the next 5 years. 15 billion of that has been earmarked for airport improvement program funding for airports. That's the equivalent of $3 billion a year extra for the next 5 years. The current program is 3.3 billion. They're adding another 3 billion per year for the next 5 years. And that's based on airport size and role and lots of various factors. But Roswell will be receiving $1,036,000 each year extra FAA funding for the next 5 years to go towards infrastructure projects on the airport. The typical FAA eligible type projects, pavements, ramps, improvements, rehabs, those types of things. And we believe there's the standard match requirement to those funds.
Yeah, I got the email on that a couple days ago. I wasn't sure that was public announcement time yet.
Yes, yeah, it is. They have announced the list for all of the airports in the country.
Okay.
The FAA announced that today.
Okay, all right, it was today. I wasn't sure it was going to be today or tomorrow. Yeah, so yes, that's an extra 1.036 million, which is for infrastructure. Okay, do we have and that is in the next federal fiscal year, Dennis, or is it available this fiscal year?
Well, it starts in FY22. It runs from 22, 23, 24 through 26, but you have 4 years to spend the money after each fiscal year. So the 22 money you have till 26 to spend it.
So we're in FY22 for the feds as well. So we could theoretically tap that money now.
Theoretically, the ability of the FAA to respond to brand new FY22 projects is questionable because we do have to do environmental and design. Depending on the project, it is a possibility. We need to coordinate with the FAA. So we look forward to talking to you guys and to Scott on if there is a FY22 project that you would like to pursue, and we'll coordinate with the FAA on the potential for that.
Let's make that another topic for the January. We talk about funding of the infrastructure projects. Because I agree with you, Dennis, you're not going to be able to start a new project, and candidly, $1 million doesn't do much. But if we want to pour that into either the doghouse or the rub structure or the large hangar project, to me, that would be the way to go with this, to kind of backfill some of the funding questions we have in those existing defined projects. But that's just my thoughts. Anybody else want to chime in?
Well, that might be the amount needed to put up this rub building.
Exactly. That could be the dollars needed exactly for this.
Maybe
yeah, we have to make sure it's for an eligible project, though. There are, under AIP, there are certain projects that are eligible and certain that are not. The rub hangar project may not be eligible as a hangar, as a revenue producing project on a primary commercial service airport. So that may not be possible. We'll have to look at the eligibility criteria.
Okay, so this is opposed to MAP projects. This is AIP as opposed to MAP?
Correct. Yes, sir.
But it might be.
Well, if the rub hangers put on the airport, it generates a revenue, so.
Yeah, but the problem is they don't want revenue generating projects for AIP.
Correct.
We build bigger hangars and use that money to put taxiways down.
Well,
Yes.
That's, okay, let's talk about that because that becomes a part of the challenge. We have different kinds of
I think,
money.
Mr. Mayor, and Chairman, like you mentioned, having a January agenda item, that'll give us a month to coordinate with the FAA, find out what the eligibility criteria, see if they're even willing to entertain projects for 22, and we can come back with a lot more information on how that money can be spent at the next meeting. Right now, it was just announced today and released, so there's still a lot of questions surrounding that funding.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anything else we want to jump on? Okay, then I'll go over to anything else you guys want to discuss, or we'll go to public participation. I need to start over there with you. Anything? Or beat that horse. Counselor? Want this? Anything else from?
No, sir.
All right. All right. Our next meeting is in January. Hang on, bring up my calendar. And that would be January 20th, which would give us a good 5 weeks. That's good. Okay. So January 20th, 1:30 here. We'll see everybody then.
Yeah.
All right.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And time now is 2:37. We are adjourned.
Merry Christmas, everybody.